Good morning, friends. Welcome here again to this video. I have been taking a break. If you've been following along on my videos, I've been taking a break for a while. I didn't film anything or put up any new video for about 2 months, I suppose. And I needed that break because motherhood is overwhelming sometimes. And I needed to cut out extras in my life. But now that I'm finally back to a little bit more order and ability, I think, to be able to keep on, I wanted to make some more videos again. And so thank you for sticking around, and I hope you will be blessed with the videos I continue to put out for mothers, Lord willing. Unless motherhood gets to be too much for me, I need to keep my priorities straight and take care of my children and my family and my home first.
My name is Melinda. I am a happy wife and mom of 4. Thank you for joining me today as I share the things that I have learned with other busy young moms like myself.
Today, I wanted to talk about praying mothers, specifically about lessons we can learn from praying mothers in the Bible. I have been thinking a lot lately about prayer and the mother's prayers, about if I'm praying for my children as I should, about there's so much in the world, so many hurts, and so little we can do sometimes except pray. And I don't know why God chooses prayer as the means that to bless others, or why he waits on our prayers sometimes. But he has asked us to pray, and so we do. And we've heard the power of prayers. We've heard the story, I don't know if you have, of Hudson Taylor. His mom, she was worried for his salvation, and one day she was somewhere else. I don't remember all the details, but she spent hours on her knees praying till she felt the confirmation in her heart that God had heard her prayers. And that was when Hudson Taylor gave his life to the Lord, and he went on to be a missionary who blessed many others. So for some reason, God has power, but he chooses to wait on our prayers sometimes, or to work through our prayers. And so the best we can do is pray and follow his leading. But with that all said, I wanted to talk about praying mothers in the Bible, because I was studying the mother's prayers in the Bible. Since it is such an important topic, in a way I was surprised that there wasn't more about that in the Bible, more mother's prayers, but there were several, and I won't cover them quite all here. There's also other women in the Bible who prayed. It doesn't specifically mention their prayers as mothers, but I wanted to talk specifically to mothers today and about mothers' prayers in the Bible. So one of the most talked of prayers, mother's prayers in the Bible, is the story of Hannah. In 1 Samuel 1, let me see if I can find it. 1 Samuel 1, verses 9 to 28. I'll read it here in my Bible. It says, let's see. Well, I might not read it all. But remember, if you will remember the story of Hannah, I won't read it all because it is a lot. How her husband had another wife who was having lots of children, and she couldn't have any. And it bothered her a lot. And she wanted a baby. So she went to the temple to pray. And she was praying with so much anguish and so much sorrow in her heart, and begging God to give her a child, that Eli thought she was drunk. But she vowed a vow. She said, O Lord of hosts, if thou wilt indeed look on the affliction of thine handmaid, and remember me, and not forget thine handmaid, but wilt give unto thine handmaid a man-child, then I will give him unto the Lord all the days of his life, and there shall no razor come upon his head. And, Eli thought she was drunk, but then later she said, no, I'm not drunk, I have a sorrowful spirit. And then Eli said, go in peace, the God of Israel grant thee thy petition that thou hast asked of him. And so she went, and by the next year, when they were supposed to go to the temple again, she had a baby. And she told her husband she'd stay home and take care of the baby, which is probably a good thing. Sometimes we need to take care of our babies. And then eventually, once he was bigger, she took him to the temple and fulfilled her promise and gave him back to the Lord, and God went on to bless her with more children. And then we see there's a prayer of thankfulness to the Lord that she prayed in chapter 2, 1 Samuel chapter 2, My heart rejoiceth in the Lord. Mine horn is exalted. My mouth is enlarged over mine enemies, because I rejoice in thy salvation. And there's a long prayer, but I won't read it all now. But God used her and used Samuel for a very important purpose. And her prayer, there's several lessons we can learn from her prayer. First of all, she was praying for a child. And mothers who have struggled with infertility will know that struggle. I don't really know what it is, but I know it is a huge struggle, and I just pray for those moms too, and I pray that God would bless you and help you in that. But you can pray for a child too, like Hannah, and God chose to answer her prayer. I've said sometimes for myself, children are a gift. It's not something I deserve. It's not something I did to earn. I don't know why God chose to bless me with children, but I am thankful. And wherever you are in this, you can pray that God would bless you with a child according to His will. Because not having a child doesn't mean you're not blessed of the Lord. When God blesses you with a baby, I'm sure when Hannah realized there was a baby growing in her womb, she kept praying for the child. And we can do even for our unborn children. We can pray that God would bless them, help them to grow up to serve Him. We can be fervent praying mothers for our children. Our prayers don't need to look put together. That's another thing we see in lessons in Hannah's story. She looked like a drunk woman, and I'm not saying we should publicly go and look a mess or anything like that, but God doesn't care if our prayers aren't orderly, stoic, well-worded prayers. He cares to hear from us and that we share our needs with Him, and He will listen. I'm not saying He'll always answer the way we wish, but He will listen. And another thing that Hannah did that we can do too is give our children back to God and keep our promises to Him. Nowadays, we wouldn't take our children to a temple. It would be neglect on our part, but we can give our children back to God. We can surrender them into His hand. Even if we're called to raise them, they're really His in the first place. And so like Hannah, we can give our children back to the Lord. We can keep our promises to Him about raising our children for Him. I think that is special, a special touch. It's hard for us to let go. We want to hold our children clenched in our fists and not let them go for God's plan for them sometimes. And as little children, it's not meaning send them away or anything. It's just meaning let God have His way, because He is the one who gave us these blessings, and they're temporarily ours, but they're really His in the first place. Thank God for your answered prayers for children, or your prayers for your children. Hannah thanked the Lord. Even if she knew she'd have to give him the baby back, God had answered her prayer. And I think somewhere, now that I think of it, I don't remember exactly, but I'm quite sure I read somewhere that God gave her more children. So maybe I am mistaken. I'd have to study it sometime. But we do know God gave her a child that she prayed for, and she gave him back to God. Another mom that I like to think about is Hagar. Hagar's situation was not ideal. She had a child because her mistress was trying to get in God's way and give Abram a child. And then once her child was older and was probably not well behaved either, was mocking Isaac, then they sent her away because they didn't want her around Isaac, or at least Sarah didn't. And I believe that was a fault on Sarah's part, because it was her fault in the first place. Even if she was a woman that is respected in the Bible, I believe that was her fault in that case. And so Hagar was really, on one hand, in an abusive situation. Her child was misbehaving, and she got sent out into the desert. Genesis 21:14-19 tells that story. Let's see if I can find it. Genesis 21:14-19. And they were without water in the desert at one point. And she laid her child down and went away, because she couldn't stand to watch him die. And she was weeping and lifting up her voice. And God heard the voice of the lad, it says, and I'm sure He heard Hagar's voice too. Even if the Bible doesn't say she was praying, I'm sure it was a prayer. And God called to Hagar out of heaven and said, "What aileth thee, Hagar? Fear not, for God hath heard the voice of the lad where he is." And God gave her a promise. God promised to her that Ishmael would grow up to be a large nation. And God opened her eyes and she saw well. So God provided. If you're in circumstances that are not ideal, you can still pray. God can still work them out for His good. He does. Anything that is not ideal, God can use it still. That's the great thing about Him. We don't have to depend on our circumstances for our life to honor Him. And that's always been a blessing, that thought to me. Another mother in the Bible that is very much talked about often, or very revered, if that's the right word, is Mary. And her prayer, "Behold the handmaid of the Lord, be it unto me according to thy word." She allowed God to use her, and she had to watch her child suffer. But she was surrendered. She had to watch Jesus die on the cross, but through that, God was able to save the world through her surrender in so many different areas. Sometimes I think we'll have to watch our children suffer. For me too, lately, seeing that my children, my daughters, one of their best friends had to leave, and it's hard to watch your children suffer. It's one of the harder things. I don't know, I wish I could just take care of suffering for them. But I know that God can use this for their good, and I just need to leave them in His hand again and surrender them, surrender myself, and know that God has a way of working things out. Another mom I like to talk of is the woman of Canaan in Matthew 15:22-18. Or another mom I studied. Let's see if I can find it here in my Bible. Matthew 15:22-28. It says, "Behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast and cried unto him, Have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with the devil." But he answered her not a word. It looked like he was ignoring her, but she was persistent. And that's what we need to be sometimes with the Lord. I don't believe Jesus wasn't hearing her, but He wanted to see if she was persistent, if she really wanted what she was asking for. His disciples came and besought Him, saying, "Send her away, for she crieth after us." But He answered and said, "I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel." He was basically telling her, "You're not of the house of Israel." But she came and worshipped and said, "Lord, help me." That simple prayer is a prayer we sometimes need, and sometimes we need to repeat it. "Lord, help me." Sometimes we don't even know what to pray, what to ask, but just simply say, "Lord, help me," and He does. He answered and said, "It is not meet to take the children's bread and to cast it to the dogs." And she said, "Truth, Lord. Yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table." She was basically saying, "Give me a crumb of your help. A little bit, I'll take anything." And Jesus answered and said unto her, "O woman, great is thy faith. Be it unto thee as thou wilt." And her daughter was made whole that very hour. That's sometimes what we need to do. Just with the least little, we ask the Lord for His help, and with faith and a desperate prayer, and He will help us in some way or other. Sometimes not the way we wish, but He will. The last mothers I want to see, or grandmothers, are in 1 Timothy 1:5. Timothy's mother Lois and grandmother Eunice. Somehow this verse, it's one little verse stuck in the Bible, but it tells us a lot of how Timothy was who he was. 2 Timothy 1:5. "When I called to remembrance the unfeigned faith that is in thee, which dwelt first in thy grandmother Lois and thy mother Eunice, and I am persuaded that is in thee also." We have, by God's grace, the ability to pass our faith on to the next generation. We can't choose for them, we can't force them, but if we have unfeigned faith, I believe our children will see that, and they will know who is the God of heaven and who they can trust. And so my encouragement for you all is to be a praying mother too. Let us grow together. I want to be a praying mother. I know I fail in this. I don't pray always like I should. But I want to pray for my children, and that God would bless them and raise them up and use them for His kingdom. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.